Welcome or welcome back. I'm your hostess, Nikita, and this is Tea from the Top. Today we're talking about another show in the 90-Day universe, Before the 90 Days, Season 8. And let me just say, this has been the absolute best season I've ever seen. It is highly problematic and highly entertaining at the same time. I have so many thoughts about each one of these couples, but today we're focusing on Sheena and Forrest and his mother, Molly. When I tell you Forrest and his mother have been pissing me off, I am just absolutely fed up and I have to get it out. Now, Forrest is problematic in his own right. I won't even deep dive into some of the things he's posted about slavery and women on social media. Major side eye. At first, I actually thought he and his mom were kind of endearing and I was rooting for him. But now they both get the side eye from me. And I just have so much empathy for Sheena, even though she has been caught in lies. She would be facing a miserable road ahead if she decides to stay with this man. One thing I find fascinating about this season is how we're seeing the script flipped. We're seeing some of the Americans come off as scammers or opportunists, when usually that assumption is put on the foreigner.
She called me a liar. She called me a scammer. What? She's the real scammer.
Forrest thought he was going to be Sheena's white American savior, her knight in shining armor coming to save her from the poverty of the Philippines and the abuse of her parents, and take her back to America to safety and a better life. Funny enough, I watched the newest episode after making this video, and Forrest dresses up as a knight in shining armor.
I've always told Sheena that I would come over to the Philippines as her knight in shining armor. I am King Forrest.
Anyway, he and Molly were so disappointed, shocked, and humbled to see that Sheena and her family in the Philippines were actually living better than they were in the U.S. The looks on their faces were priceless. And the fact that Forrest doesn't even have a job? In that moment, it became very clear that he has absolutely nothing to offer this woman when he thought his mere presence was going to transform her life. Sheena's family is probably looking like, what is the point of being with this American man if he can't even help you financially to get to America, and in no way, shape, or form has the ability to provide for a family once you get there? I hate to say it, but this is where white privilege falls flat, and the assumption of superiority, whether from whiteness or from being an American, has little value. And I understand that Sheena is 40 years old and that, especially in her culture, it is probably frowned upon for her to still be unmarried and without kids. And I know she probably feels that Forrest is her person, but I think that she could do better. And to have Molly as a mother-in-law and Dev with his lack of opinions and lack of backbone would be a miserable future ahead. Now, I found it absolutely insane how Molly, upon meeting Sheena's family, had the audacity to begin asking them about their finances and how their family handles their money.
There's been quite a bit of confusion. I had heard that you guys had been taking all of Sheena's earnings, that you forced her.
So let's get this straight. You're on my property, staying in my home, eating food that I prepared to welcome you into my country, and you're interrogating me about how I handle my money? That was wildly audacious and disrespectful. But when Sheena's father asked about Forrest's finances, suddenly Molly says, No, let's not talk about that.
Yes, but yesterday, Forrest made it clear that he is a little low on budget also, and so I don't know what the situation is, So
Actually, let's put Forrest's finances to the side, and I want to talk about Sheena.
Excuse me? That's the entire issue. If Forrest had his own money, maybe he wouldn't be so focused on what Sheena is doing with hers. Maybe she wouldn't feel pressured to juggle sponsoring herself, paying for her visa, and still honoring her cultural obligation to support her family. And then Forrest says, you can just give the money back to Sheena, right? And of course, his father or her father kind of stumbles and says, well, yeah, we can give it back. And then Forrest says, "Oh, look how easy that was," like he solved something. Sir, first of all, don't walk into someone's house demanding how they handle their finances. Get a fucking job so you can contribute to a joint account and get out of my pockets. Second of all, I knew Sheena was going to get it behind the scenes from her family. Because how do you just allow these Americans to come into our home and challenge our cultural norms on international television, demanding that we give money back to you when you know what it is? And you should have communicated that to them. Oh, this was a hot mess. In the next episode, it became clear, as I already knew, that the money Sheena gives her family is not a loan. It's an obligation. And her family was not about to let themselves be ridiculed on international TV as thieves or abusers. When Sheena and her father spoke, he basically told her, "You better tell them what it is." And she knew right then and there she needed to let Molly and Forrest know that she was not going to stop helping her family financially. But Sheena also doesn't seem to have a backbone, with her parents or with Forrest. I completely understand that she has to continue supporting her family, but maybe she needs to tell them that she needs to start setting aside a fixed amount for herself. Or maybe she needs to move out so they won't feel as obligated to demand so much because she's still living under their roof. I'm also just a bit confused as to why she did not make this clear to Forrest before now. They've been together for 7 years, so this should not be a surprise to him. And honestly, as tech-savvy as Forrest portrays himself to be with his smart home, he should have done research long ago about cultural norms in the Philippines. He should have known what he was walking into, and he should have had enough curiosity to go to Sheena and ask questions about expectations and the differences in culture. So I think they're both at fault. And Molly suggesting that Forrest should monitor Sheena's bank accounts? Absolutely not. She owes y'all nothing. If we're watching accounts now, let's watch yours too. Let's put a timeline on you getting a job. And for Molly to say that Sheena's father is overbearing and she doesn't want Forrest to have to deal with a father-in-law like that, that's the pot calling the kettle black. Sheena would have to deal with you as a mother-in-law, someone who's tagging along on his vacation, speaking for her grown son, and practically bullying his fiancé and now his family. Then Molly plants the seed that Forrest can't trust Sheena, and now he's questioning her. Now yes, Sheena has lied. A lot. I'm not ignoring that. But she's also stuck between her partner and her family. At some point, she has to choose honesty and just say what it is, even if it risks losing him. And I know she devoted 7 years to this man and spent nearly all of her 30s investing in the idea of being with him, so I can imagine that her fear is great. But girl, when are you going to learn? I'm eager to see how it goes when Sheena tells Forrest and his family the truth, that she will not stop giving her family money. And I know Molly is going to throw a fit. But honestly, it will validate that Sheena wasn't completely lying. Those weren't loans, they were obligations. And it's about time this family starts respecting the cultural norms instead of dismissing them. Now, one more thing. Dev. I'm surprised he says absolutely nothing. I assume that he was Native American or something other than white. I could be completely off, but when these discussions about cultural expectations and differences first came up, I expected him to have somewhat of an opinion or at least a bit of understanding, but I could be wrong. And instead, of course, Molly was his mouthpiece. And the one time he did speak, it was complete gibberish.
You guys rush into it, things could get worse. Or, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, of course.
It's just I love her so much.
Yeah. You think you're ready for this? You better have a book written, ready to follow that book.
Yeah. Dev is a very perplexing man. His wisdom can be confusing, but he's right in the sense that I have a lot to think about.
Anywho, in the latest episode, Forrest proposed to Sheena, and it was honestly a cute moment. And I'm glad he did it with just them and didn't let Molly corrupt it.
You guys happy?
Oh, yeah, I'm ecstatic, Forrest. I asked you to hold off and wait so she could prove herself, and then you just go buck up and pull this little sneak. If you are not going to be willing to listen, what the am I doing sitting over here in this country then, Forrest?
I think you're just being a stubborn ass and you just don't want to accept our happiness.
Excuse me? Don't
Well,
be shaking your head and agreeing when you
I
were there and
agree
in part of the
because this is
process.
what we talk as couples. We talk about this. And this is our
Then
decision.
don't answer for him if you weren't in his head and you weren't there
I
at the time
am
when he
an
decided
adult
to do
and
it.
I will
All
decipher
right?
what we want to do.
Your life. It's over.
Of course, Molly the Menace has to rain on their parade. And she's asking what she's doing in this country. What do you mean? You're living the life. Staying at a beautiful home that Sheena's family owns. Going to the spa on their dime. Eating on their dime. Enjoying this beautiful country. She is absolutely insane. And good for Sheena for standing up. She said, I'm holding my man's hand. We're united now and I have a voice. Period. Keep that same energy though. Boy, this was something else. Next episode is going to be crazy. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Till next time, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.